Good afternoon. So today on this episode of the ESL sessions on site, I was actually fortunate enough to have a quick conversation and a meetup in a Coffee for Veterans location here in Portsmouth, Virginia, talking to a couple members from both Common Defense, Veterans for Peace, Sons of Liberty, and then just other very interesting individuals, especially trying to mobilize and get ourselves in the manner to be able to get together to try to help both the communities with everything that's going on with the administration, especially as military members, which we have such a wide-ranging span to be able to reach out and have a lot of members in different sects, in different groups, and in different locations. So there's actually pretty insightful, the information that I was able to grab and retain from these other members, primarily Heidi, who is the member of who is actually the leading member here for the Common Defense for Virginia. And one thing I want to say about the intersecting thoughts on the way that this meeting went, it was very impromptu, but we were able to actually get some information about what's currently going on and then get a couple of points and views of what's actually affecting not only the veteran community but everybody currently in this part of Southampton Roads and other portions of North Carolina because of the sweeping changes that are happening with the administration. A lot of the insightful information really did came down to just communicating and networking with members of the public and ways to be able to try to reach out to try to change the current situation, especially with the midterms coming up, with a lot of the press meetings and pressers that are currently happening. But the primary thing that I know was actually intended for this Veterans for Coffee was just that mobilization, the mobilization of military members, both prior, current reserves, or longtime civilians that actually did their service a while back. Is just that the fact that we can still reach out to other members with the commonality of wanting to help our community, wanting to help others in communities that are in need of support, whether it be in a legal sense, whether it be in an emotional sense, and sometimes another type of community outreach. And one thing that I want to put out there with that is that these types of events, these small niche events between cross community members really do help out. They really do help out. I was actually able to finally meet with Heidi. I was finally able to meet with Dee from Repatriate Our Patriots, and as well, like I said, meet up with other members, other veterans here in the local Southampton Roads. So hopefully, just like I said, this is just more kind of a quick impromptu of mobilization, getting ourselves networking, and looking forward for these next steps and get their information, to be able to get their information out there on what we can do as members of any community. So one thing I do urge is reach out to your local chapters of Common Defense, reach out to Veterans for Peace, reach out and try to mobilize, go ahead and get yourself together. There's a lot of things that we can definitely do with the community. And I'll turn it over to some of the members, some of the information that I got from the coffee itself.
I think all of you already know me, Heidi Dregnef. I don't know that I've met everybody in person before today. I was in the Navy from 2002 to 2009, grew up in the desert, Southern California, Eastern Arizona area. I got involved with politics in 2021 after seeing what happened to our Capitol on January 6th. I was following politics several years before that, but had 3 small children, so getting involved really wasn't an option for me at the time. But because everything was shut down due to COVID and went online to Zoom, it made it way easier to start getting plugged in. And so I found Common Defense, I think, like on Twitter or something. So I think I found kind of Common Defense just scrolling, like doom scrolling Twitter, trying to figure out what I can do. And I was like, oh, there's a group of veterans that is like-minded. And the military is what probably made me more progressive than anything because of how diverse our community is. Come from all walks of life, all over the world, not just all over the country, all different lifestyles. We all grew up with different values, and you become friends with these people. Despite your differences, you have a whole lot more in common than you have not in common. And so it really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that my way of living is not everybody's way of living, and made me a lot more accepting of that. So I started volunteering, going to the monthly calls. Actually, I think at the time they were like every other week because it was right after January 6th, so they were doing calls more often. And then I just started signing up for everything I could. And 3 years ago, there was a job opening for the electoral coordinator to do work on endorsements for Virginia and New Jersey. And I was offered that job and took it. And about a year ago, I was offered a full-time position as a full-time organizer, and that's how I got to be where we are today.
20 years from 83 to 2003. I was a Navy journalist. I did stories for Navy Marine Corps News. I don't know if any of you guys know about that program on AFRTS. And I was the editor of Surface Warfare magazine. And as a civilian after the Navy, I was the editor of the Marines on Point out of Chronicle. So I've done a lot of publicity and marketing kind of things in my life. Was really upset in 2016 that they elected Trump. And I got into politics because I could not complain about it and not show action, not do something. If I was going to sit back and say this is wrong, then I had to step up and actually do something about it. So I started doing activism. I was at the Women's March the day after his inauguration. I've been at it ever since. Activism and politics. I help people run. I lived in Stafford, near Quantico, for many years. There are now 4 black women on the board of supervisors there, and I had a little bit of something to do with that. So I feel very proud about that. And now I'm here in Virginia Beach. And I'm helping people run for office. I helped Cheryl Smith run for delegate. She lost, but we're working it, you know. And I'm going to be helping other people run for office. I met Heidi at a local event, and she invited me to join Commom Defense. And I said, you know, I'm a veteran. Most of my veteran people that I know as veterans are not the same as me. Most of them are for Trump and the Republicans, and I've got to step up as a veteran and show how I feel about it. So.
I'm Keith Giblin. I was in the Air Force for 22 years, and after that I got out, retired in 2018, and worked over at SAIC over with you. Yeah. And for a little bit, and now I'm exploring some opportunities of my own politically. While I was on active duty, I pretty much dialed that off, turned politics off, because I felt like that was the right thing to do in uniform. And Trump woke me up when he got elected the first time, a little bit anyway, and I really went bonkers when he got reelected. So after that, I've gotten involved with Chesapeake Democratic Committee and with you all. So I'm trying to find ways to get our country back on track.
I'm Bill Robinson. I found out about this group through Heidi and I having some other overlapping memberships, and so I started coming. I was in the Army for 23 years and then retired from that into DoD civilian, and worked at that for 20 years. And I had planned to do that for 25 years, but my parents both had to move in with me because of health problems. And they had a lot of complex problems, including they both had dementia. So I had to take care of them. But also during Trump's first term, I started getting very frustrated with the limitations on me because of the Hatch Act and the way that the fact that it was like they would treat politically expressive Trump supporters kind of, and you know, that's just him being him. Whereas if somebody spoke out even for the sitting president, they would get like, oh, you can't be political, you can't be political. And it just really came to a head when there was a some shootings, and every time there was a mass shooting, all the Trumpers would just start vocally yelling, "Oh, false flag, false flag," and I just knew it wasn't. And then the next day when they proved it wrong, these guys wouldn't let go of that. Fake news, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, I saw what President Trump at the end of his administration tried to do in D.C. with, politicizing the military, and I know some of the details of where he tricked Mark Milley into looking like he was supporting him, and then after he retired, trying to punish him for not being vocally supportive, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I got involved just as a canvasser and stuff like that in the Harris Walls campaign, and then that led me to get involved in my committee, and it went from there. So here I am. My work as a veteran to support veterans' needs through politics is a big part of what I'm doing.
Hello, I'm Airman Bradley Snyder. I served 4 years in the Air Force as a munitions systems specialist. I participated in war crimes and hurt people that didn't deserve it, and that really pisses me off. I spent a long time just dealing with PTSD from the things that I witnessed and kind of trying to turn it off, and then realized this isn't a thing that just goes away or solves itself based on an election cycle. After Trump's second election, I recognized that like if I don't get very directly involved in this very quickly, and a whole lot more people like me, nothing's going to get done about it. So I'm visiting all the organizations I can, not just here with Commom Defense. I participate in Veterans for Peace, with the Sons of Liberty. I've marched with Flair and the Removal Coalition in DC. I'm just doing whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can.
Yeah, just a quick background on me. So I was a separated warfare officer. So
does everybody know who this
actually,
is?
I've never met this man in my life.
I don't.
I've never seen this man before in my life.
See, I knew somebody now.
So James Joseph. Yeah, I was a submarine guy. This height like works. I guess for right now. Fair enough. And most recently I'm a reservist. So since 2015, I got off active duty. I'm actually a commander of Navy Reserve out of Virginia Beach today, so Little Creek. And I think something that you said struck me, which is just, like the melting pot idea, right, of the military. And I see that much more keenly on the reservist side than I even did on active duty. Right, 90% of the sailors under my command are federal contractors. Right, our teachers, our healthcare workers, whatever in the community, and are kind of seeing what we're all experiencing, but from different lenses, and it's impacting their family structures. Right, and every day when we go in and put on the uniform and stand watch. I think what got me more invested in politics, especially this last cycle, was Trump 2.0. We're kind of seeing the systemic degradation of the institutions that, we all thought there was this lone star, right? That there were these guardrails that we were signed up to, the Constitution, right? But just a moral code on top of that. And we've seen this administration provide a permission structure for a lot of individuals. You reference the people that you serve with, that maybe you were tracking their political beliefs, right? But people are kind of breaking down that line of demarcation that we thought was solid, that was sacrosanct, right, between the political, between military, right? And it is that constant perversion that is scaring me, right? And it's building up that muscle that is going to allow some really disastrous things to happen in the future if we don't put that bulwark back where it needs to be. Most recently I threw my hat in the ring to be a congressional candidate. This is a district, and Hampton Roads in general is kind of where the Naval Service and the military itself has a home. I spent over a third of my Navy career here, so I'm looking to give back in any way that I can and continue to do so. So thanks for the discussion.
I'm the president for Repatriate Patriots. We're a nonprofit organization that helps veterans who have been deported, but also with preventing deportation. And amplifying the importance of naturalization for veterans who are currently serving. I'm here locally. I live in Williamsburg, so it's about to take a little bit to get here. But I've been a member of Commom Defense since 2023. And I just love the work that Commom Defense does, and I'm part of several group chats. I am also the vice chair for the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee for LULAC, and that is the League of United American Citizens. We do have several events that are coming up. We are actively advocating for transparency and answers in the murder of Angelina Resendez. That most of you are familiar probably here being in Milton. And we have a press conference coming up on Friday, February 20th, where we're going to be giving an update on the current case situation. But outside of that, I'm really here to amplify our really veterans and citizens' rights, right, and what's going on right now currently in their political climate, and mainly with our veterans, right? It's not just the part of veterans, but military families and veterans who are currently serving. We currently have, it's hard to say this number, but 400,000 veterans who are not U.S. citizens serving in the military. Yes.
Well, and I wanted to ask real quick. I know it's been a problem for some people I know in general that the Trump administration is basically changing or ignoring the rules to call legal immigrants illegal, or treat legal immigrants as if they were illegal. How many of the people that are in the military, if you know, are people who they're legal immigrants, especially under amnesty laws, legally joined the military knew their status when they joined, and now all of a sudden the Trump administration has come along and said, oh, we don't like immigrants, so we're going to deport you.
I'm very glad that you asked that question. There is a lot of misconception, and anyone who is currently serving in the military is a legal permanent resident. You cannot join the military if you're not here legally. That is number one, right? So
I know.
Any service member, me included, I served in the Army for 6.5 years, went to Iraq twice, 12-month deployment, and I served with a green card. I was not even a U.S. citizen. I actually left the military with a green card, expired green card. I was not able to obtain my citizenship because of my deployment. So no, you cannot join the military unless you are a legal permanent resident. That is point clear blank, no questions asked, right? So there is no illegal immigrant serving in the military, and nor can you join the military if you are not here legally. When you leave the military, then you are a green card holder, right, a legal permanent resident, and you commit a felony that is considered a deportable offense. That is when you're in trouble, because you are no longer protected by the military law. You're no longer under the big umbrella, right? A lot of us and a lot of military leadership fails to tell us that that happens. Because why? Because our military ID card has been our passport for the entire time we were on service.
Right.
I traveled all across Europe. I was stationed in Germany the entire time, and I not once used my green card for anything. So when I left, I didn't even know where my green card was. I had no idea about any of the process, right? And yes, I should have asked. I should have been more, I guess, proactive about it, because it is my citizenship. Nobody should have to come tell me. But also, I was a PFC, an E3. I have no authority. I have to ask to go to the bathroom, right? And I'm in Iraq. I'm not concerned about it. So when I came back after a lot of trauma and stuff that I went through, I just wanted the hell out, right? And I wanted not to deal with it. But then I wanted to go see my mom, who lives in Mexico, and I couldn't because my green card was expired, right? So a simple checkbox on your out processing checklist could have fixed that. Right? A simple checkbox. That's all it takes. Hey, did you apply for your naturalization? Oh shit, no I didn't. Let me do that before I leave.
Which they now have the ability to just go in and change. There's no one to
Keep
stop
asking
them.
that question, but no, there's no such thing.
And to close it off, it was really insightful. It was really insightful that we were able to gather on such short notice. But it went well enough that the members that did show up were able to give us their information and to be able to get some sort of points across on what's currently going on. So hopefully this helps and gives you a little better insight on the way that the veteran community still is currently actively enrolling itself in ways to be able to fight for the rights of the public. Because one, we took an oath immediately upon entering service to be able to help our community, right? To be able to take lawful orders. But on top of that is that service, that continued service is there even after we take off the uniform, or if we transition to a different level of uniform. That's just how it is. And like I said, this is definitely one of those insightful situations, and I'm glad that I actually came through to do it. So hopefully with the future events and future other Coffee for Veterans or just other veteran meetup events, we can actually get a little bit more information and get some more interviews and get some more other insights on manifestations, and to be able to get gatherings and other ways to be able to continue to help out the community. So thank you if you stuck around for the entire episode on this short really episode and just this update on what's currently going on with Commom Defense in the Southampton Roads area. So thank you very much.